If we have to, if we capture understanding of the way in which people live, then it has to reflect in our store to convey that we understand you or we know you. So to be able to bridge this, from knowing to translating it into the store level, into a reality, we'll have to use certain tools or devices by which this can happen. So unless as a sociologist I don't go out and study and find out that when I say that there are several groups, ethnic groups within Mumbai, but if I don't know about say Meghwals, who are in large numbers, a population about 3 to 5 lakhs, who live in the Sandest Road area, if you know, Dockyard area of Mumbai, and they have their own celebrations happening in a particular way. If I don't know that, or if I don't know how to differentiate between Pune and Aurangabad, although these are very strong Maharashtrian pockets, Pune is very Brahminical, and Aurangabad has a large number of Buddhist population and Muslims in fact higher than the national average, and the reasons behind them. If I don't know these, and if I know them as a sociologist, if they don't reflect in what I offer in the store. So your question will be, so what do I offer in my Aurangabad store which is not necessary in my Pune store? In Aurangabad, during 4th of April, which will be Ambedkar Jayanti, if I do not celebrate or create an ambience which is like a mini Diwali, when the Buddhists actually celebrate, shop, buy, go out and eat, if I don't do that, as a store, I'm quiet about my knowledge about Aurangabad as a city or Marathwada as a state, as a part of the state. So if I have to say that I know you, first I have to know who lives there, how they live, what they celebrate, what they don't celebrate, why, etc. And second is that it should come to my store. So that day the offer will have to be Buddha Jayanti Nimit. There has to be an offer which conveys people, or which says that Koti Koti Pranam, kind of a thing which conveys the sentiment and matches the sentiment. In fact, I feel one of the best things that gets translated from this understanding to products is a position that a modern retailer like Big Bazaar takes of being secular and respecting each and every community around them. So I think that is very critical. If we just do Diwali, we're actually packing everybody together into an homogeneous box and saying that, okay, all of you, I have offers for you during Diwali. Seems like you celebrate Diwali, so take these offers. So there will be a critical mass which will say that you don't know me, so I need to come in the month of April, but you don't seem to be aware, and that's okay. Or I need to come during Eid, but you don't know me, so it's okay. I go back to the place where people know me, because this way the earlier part will be so transactive, and the goal is always to become more interactive, in fact become part of community through all these connections that one is talking about, and that would happen only then. The map which is used for plotting the ethnography, finding out about what is important in the community. So we have city catchment guidelines and how they are to be used, right from advertisements to languages to shops, the kind of aggregation of particular kind of shops. It's very interesting. When we were studying Mumbra community for starting a Big Bazaar Best Deal store, and we came across so many tuition classes. It's not funny. So what we tried doing was to arrange for a meeting and interaction outside the store with the tuition teachers, and managed to go across the schools and get some tuition teachers' addresses and call them up, and some 15-16 of them turned up to meet us, and all of them were women. And when we were talking to them, and I said, this is surprising to find so many tuition classes boards here. And we understood actually where the mindset of community is. Mumbra is a community which got created very strongly post 1992 riots in Mumbai city, and the younger generation has taken it up today to ensure that the children get educated. And to be able to do that, what they have built in very strongly is the network of tuition classes. And these young girls who may be 12th pass but run tuition classes, because they said no outsiders are ready to come, no celebrated names of tuition teachers or tuition classes are ready to come to Mumbra yet. So what we are doing is we ensure that we teach some children, and each child goes to a tuition class so that they have support and they will pass the examinations and they will move ahead. And I thought that was brilliant. And the moment I understood that, I understood the level of aspiration where the women are, and the kind of care that they are wanting to provide. And so when we were discussing products, there was nothing to my surprise that came up. They said that we would like to give children juices. We would like to take care of their nutrition. So Complan, Bonvita becomes very, very important for us to give them. We're looking for small bits of snacks every little while to offer to our children, and therefore noodles, biscuit are the kind of things that they would like to offer. So a query of this kind can open up mindsets and can drive you towards products which tell you what should be actually sold together and at what time, and that would take care of a whole lot of things that we are trying to find out otherwise. Simpler methods to begin with, if you are in the store, is shadow a trolley or follow a trolley. So generally, if you look at what the customers pick up, and if you are able to profile the customers just as people they are. We just met both of them here at Foodrite, and I just felt that this is exactly the trolley of a mother who is preparing herself to feed the children 24/7 during the vacation. And here we are with numbers of packets of butters and biscuits and cheese and ketchups and cold drinks, a perfect combination to for the mother to serve the children throughout the day and throughout the vacation. So let's ask them how they came up to buying all these things.
Since it is vacation time, we always look out because the children are always asking for snacks off and on, and so we need to give them. So I think this is the best way.
As the trolley gets filled, it starts speaking to you about the socio-economic profile with which this shopping is particularly happening. When you particularly compare it with, say, a trolley which is filled with biscuits, chips, cheese, lots of butter, a lot of mayonnaise, frozen foods like parathas or Yakult kind of fancy things put in, and a whole lot of bottles of cold drinks, ketchups, ready-made pickles, it speaks volumes about a contrasting lifestyle. And if you see one single person standing next there, you know that it's a typical trolley of a single guy.
I'm from Jaipur actually. My job has brought me to Mumbai. I live in a rented apartment. This is my weekly shopping. So as you can see, a lot of cold drinks and soda. We normally friends meet and there's a lot of party happening, and also some instant food, because I really don't get time to cook that well. So whatever is instant, I pick up that.
You are saying you have lots of friends coming in, but all the things you have picked up is not big in size. How come? except the parathas.
There's no homemaker at home. I have to take care of my home. So which means that if I take bigger size, which means then I have to have that much storage space, and maintaining, keeping them fresh or keeping them, it's all increasing a burden. And as a single, I would not want to get into all of that. Probably when I have a family, then probably my way of looking at it would be different. But right now, small size is what I look for.
These kinds of studies of trolleys tell you the consumption behavior, the life cycle stages, tell you about the lifestyles, and also communicate a lot about what's happening in the consumer's life. Say for example, is there a festive time, is there a vacation time that you see most of them picking up chips and biscuits and Maggi noodles kind of stuff, that starts telling you what time of the year probably it is. So in ethnography, this becomes a very, very important tool. Our studies have shown us, or our understanding shows us, that people usually follow a consumption grid. So if you understand any set of people, any person through the grid, you've almost captured, the essence of that person's living. So, say for example, what is the person's consumption on education? So, how well that person is, or how much is that person educated, or what are her interests, or what are the other kind of education she's into. So, I may be a BA, but music must be my passion. So, understanding that part, or cooking is my passion, so I keep on attending various cookery classes, and or I run a cookery class. So what is my consumption on education, what's my consumption of health, whether it is private health care, whether it is public health care, do I suffer from particular illness or not, and therefore what is my immediate concern, or do I, say for example in Bangalore you keep on finding that consumption of health is over the counter. So everyone is looking for very, very cool kind of health care, whereas you go to Bengal and the aspiration with health today is to go to Fortis kind of a private health care and move away from the public health care. So education, health, my consumption with my family life, so whether it is joint family, whether it is nuclear family, whether it is extended family, whether I live in a nuclear family but my decisions are made with my extended family, or my celebrations are done with my extended family, or is it that I live alone here and my husband lives somewhere else, or so do I have a weekend marriage, or do I have a year-end marriage, or what is the kind of family life that I am into, what is the kind of consumption with housing, what kind of home I live in, whether it is a tenement, whether it is 1 bedroom, whether it is 2 bedroom, whether it is 3 bedroom, whether I have a house of my own, whether I have a big house or a small house, the interior of my house. We've always found that people love to do up their living room first, and they do up their bedroom the last, because that's the place people don't come in. And whereas with the white collared government employees, we found that their bedroom is done up like living room, and their living room is very, very modestly kept. That's because they all have cadre, or they have a level at which they are. So you couldn't be having something more or less than the level at which you are by your job, and everyone in your colony knows your level. So your take-home salary is almost known, because the accountant who makes your salary, probably lives next door. So that defines what level you are at, and therefore consumption of home also speaks volume about the way people are. So you will generally find that the government employees live in the colonies given by their employer, have a home, second flat created in a city like Mumbai, Pune, wherever they are, and build a house in their native place, which is done up the most. Because that's where the concern related to my status and stature comes up, because I've left this town to go to Mumbai or Pune to become the Saab that I have become, and I can prove it only with the house that I make up there. So for a retailer, there are 3 things that are happening. One is that what is it that happens, so therefore what gets priority? So if my living room is a priority for a self-employed or a private employed person like me, it could be that my living room really has to be good, and therefore I look for good sofa sets and LCD TV and things like that. But if it is the other way around, that my bedroom has to look better, then the priority is to the bed, and it has to be a double bed, and it has to look like a sofa. So I have to be able to spread myself, and it has to be decorative. I have to have a TV inside the bedroom, and therefore everything is going to be very different inside my bedroom, and that will matter. The second thing is that the same person consumes thrice, on the same thing. So I need a sofa where I live right now, but I need a sofa to do up my home, and I need a sofa probably to do up my home which is on rent right now. But I'm going to retire, and for some time, till my children finish their education, I'm going to be continuing staying in that private flat that I have bought. So for the same person, there are 3 layers or 3 levels of consumption that are happening. Just by the lens of who you are, and the consumption grid related to housing, you'll be able to get a clear picture of the consumption of this person, And it has its own ramifications and implications on the other. So when you are an IT professional, your sense of gadgets and possession of gadgets is going to tell you something definitely different than a non-IT professional, So you'll be able to make these connects, and therefore you look at, like I earlier said, look at education, look at health, look at housing, look at family, look at aspirations, What are people speaking about? What do they want to do, What are they saying that they would like to achieve? I was talking to a person in western suburbs in a Mahada colony. He actually washes clothes, brings people's clothes and washes them. And his whole thing was, bas pani aa jaye. And I was trying to say that, why is this person telling me this as his aspiration? And then I understood that because there is no water coming up with the force in which it should come. These are 1 room and a small kitchen, tenement-like houses of Mahada. And he said, because bas pani aa jaye. And then I understood that if the water comes with force, what was absent in these homes was a washing machine. And what difference would it make to him when in any way he has a laundry business? So I could relate to his aspiration of getting regular water at a reasonable force so that a machine runs, But he did not even once say that he wanted a washing machine as an aspiration. So being able to understand aspirations of people and being able to connect them to their professions, to the place where they live, will also start telling us a whole lot about them. It also helps us to plan better. It immediately tells you that right now you need not harp on your washing machine sales in this particular place. In fact, water storage is going to be important. Will you be able to create a product which has wheels to your buckets rather than talking about a great washing machine on sale, because that makes no sense to the person whose aspiration is yet at the level of getting good water with high force. So being able to look at aspirations is going to matter a lot, whether they are with education, whether they are with health, whether they are with family, anything but an aspiration will become important. How do they consume vacations? What's their idea of weekend? What's their idea of evenings? What's their idea of family vacation? Where are they looking for going? What are they doing? How do they plan their holiday? Is there a holiday of a particular kind or not? Will speak volumes to us. At Kandivali store, we were talking to a group of women, who created bunches of products together, and very interesting things came out of them. And I was asking them, why would you need such big packs of bhujiyas? And they said that 2 places where we consume them. One is when we watch a reality show together as a family, and second is when we go out for short drives to Lonavala, Matheran. These were Gujarati community women who were talking about these places being very, very important. And you and I know that if you have to meet Gujaratis of Mumbai, there's no other better place than Matheran, Mahabaleshwar and Lonavala to meet them. So one could completely relate and also answer a query to oneself that maybe they go by their own vehicle. So are these families which are looking either too modest but having 4-wheelers at homes, who plan a vacation of this kind, which would, mean a cost of a particular kind. To take a vehicle from, say, for 500 or 600 one-way kilometers distance is going to ask for fuel, is going to ask for 2 or 3 meals outside, and so that immediately tells you volumes about family's consumption, and that is what becomes important. The moment a family says that my child goes to a Cambridge school, I have yet to find out a school which is Cambridge kind of school which charges less than 6 lakhs per year. And it has to immediately tell you or reflect something about the family income and the family's allotted or allocated expenditure related to education. So what connects you make with this is another question, but the grid starts opening up a whole lot of things for you. So you look at people's aspirations, you look at their vacations, you look at their family life, you look at relationships. That's another very important thing to understand. As sociologists, we use a tool called a genogram, which tells us about the family tree and which tells us about how these families have met and how the husband and wife, are you the first wife or are you the second wife, or what has happened to the family. It has much to do with the decision making, it has much to do with consumption in the family as you open up layers and start understanding, because a family is a continuum which is a cultural continuum, and therefore what will be done will be decided by certain people. We may not realize it because we are looking at them as our nana nanis or my parents or my children, but decisions are governed by relationships largely, and therefore they become very, very critical. Like you will hear a sentence like अगर बेटे ने कहा तो हो ही गया समझिए, इनको तो चलेगा ही नहीं कि बेटे की बात मानी नहीं. You'll hear sentences like that, and therefore how does this family consume relationships is spoken very correctly by the families themselves, and if you have it as part of your grid, you'll be able to relate to it the best. So these are the 9 or 10 dimensions of the consumption grid. If you have asked questions or queried or quizzed the family on these, or done it to your own family, you'll actually able to have a very clear picture of where this family stands, and generally, a capability that develops over a period of time to be able to project where they'll go. So it's not very difficult to understand why Kesari Travels has highest number of women travelers going with them on their My Fair Lady trip who are Maharashtrians and none other communities, because Maharashtrians have consumed the elements of grid I spoke to you in a particular way, where the woman has evolved as a decision maker over a period of time, where she has the freedom and the progressive mindset, which is a reformist mindset of this particular state, which allows her to step out of family without being questioned on her character, on her capabilities, on her entitlements, and is allowed to do vacation. It's a deeply built-in mem in our mind to say, going out and meeting people is going to make you wiser and prudent. So if that is so with Maharashtrians, they are bound to go to My Fair Lady kind of trips that Kesari Travels will arrange, and you can check and find out, why they are so successful with Maharashtrians. So it's very, I can't say easy, but there is a predictability element to project what will happen next with a tool of this kind, which is consumption grid. In all our conversations so far, we have been talking about how culture and living is so very embedded in each other. That's very difficult to say, which is a part of the other. It is so much a part of us. All the symbols that we use, all the behaviors that we manifest are part of our cultural learnings. The language that we use, the way we look, the way we carry certain symbols, the symbols of marriage, the symbols of not being married, the symbols of happiness, the symbols of boredom, the symbols of mourning. All the symbol signatures speak volumes about our culture, and they are expressed and manifested in public living at large. So a community culture calendar helps us to grasp an understanding of these layers that we began speaking about. And with increasing urbanization, one finds that we were earlier, actually time has come to call ourselves as earlier agrarian economy, So seasons actually decided everything for us. So we knew that there were two sets and two harvests that happened, and particular seeds were sown and particular crops were reaped. So life ran as per that. The availability of food, the consumption of particular kind of foods happened according to that. Today, and the non-agriculture time went into religious activities and things like that. Today that remains just one of the influences. As we get incrementally urbanized and get more and more nuclearized as families, we find that children's exams, education, our holidays, working and non-working days, bank holidays have started playing a great deal of role in our lives. So when does my bank close matters a lot for me to start from my workplace and rush quickly on my bike to finish off a particular transaction. So all such kinds of things have a role to play in the way in which we live as communities. And the other manifestation of community livings are the jatras, the yatras, the festivals, the way they are celebrated, the social events, the way they happen, and how people get connected, how temporarily people migrate from one place to another to engage into those kinds of activities. What part of them do they part with during this time? What's the kind of level of altruism people participate in? What's the kind of consumption that receives a spike during this period and other which does not receive a spike, and why? All these make the cultural manifestations of an individual's living as well as a community's living. I think the calendar that speaks about marketing, which is driven largely by the cultural living of people, is the epitome of our connect to the communities. And I think that's a very important device which starts telling us also to prepare. Like I earlier said, that come Mahalaya and the preparation for Durga Puja starts. So the announcement of Durga related availability of products cannot be a week before, like it can be a week before when it is happening to Diwali in Maharashtra. So being able to capture people's behaviors in the context of their living would mean simply referring to the community culture calendar of each and every community, which will explain how we have to plan and what we have to do when it comes to the three things that we always talk about: assortment, experiences and communications. So I think these are very important and interesting tools, very easy to adapt, use for ourselves, and they can always be refined with newer experiences that people bring in. I'm sure somebody who's listening to this from Indore is bound to say that there's much needs to be done on Ganpati at Indore, because there is a very critical mass of Maharashtrians apart from Maharashtra living in Madhya Pradesh, located in Indore, because Peshwas ruled Indore for a long time, and therefore they took a whole lot of Tamilians and Maharashtrians to Indore, and you find them located there. So we will have to make note of these and reach out to people in different ways. In any case, there are dominant community groups in each catchment and neighborhood that we belong to, which tells you actually that community wears the color of that kind in terms of products, availabilities, what is happening there. So when you go to Ghatkopar, you see a different sets of vegetables all together, and you go to Matunga and you see another set of vegetables all together, because South Indians stay in this part of Matunga and Gujaratis stay in Ghatkopar. So there are distinct kind of products and things that you will find as per the community. Each catchment has its own sets of dominant communities. It will be very important for a modern retailer like us to take into account 3 or 4 dominant communities and map their behaviors and run our calendars by responding to them. There's another part which is also happening of homogenization. As urbanized we get, the shackles or the walls that are around us of my own ethnic identity also start shedding, and I'm ready to take the new, good and different of others also. And I'm also more open to discovering something good, new and different about others. So if that is so, when our communications go across in a cooler but in a cultured, rooted manner, people are bound to respond to it. And the other layer of the seasons of examinations and the calendars where monsoon and things happen, the seasons of that kind, they are common to all of us. So if there are these communications which are made to everybody, I'm sure, we move into the direction of greater heart share gradually and the connect happens.